The youth of China is giving up. They've stopped trying in almost every facet of their life, quit their jobs, and abandoned their families. Bai Lan, or Let It Rot, began as an internet trend, has picked up traction among the nation's youth, and evolved into a quiet but successful uprising against the Communist Party's rule. It has spread so widely that it's having an impact on the country's economy, so much so that the CCP's Xi Jinping has asked for help from the country's youth. He had to come out and request them to go back to work for the country's future. But how did things get so bad for China? What aspects of the Chinese administrative system and its intense culture have compelled Gen Z and millennials to let it rot? China's initial growth. Let's start with how China arrived at this challenging position. Look at China's GDP over the last few decades. You'll realize that they've experienced explosive economic growth as China opened up to the world and became the global manufacturing hub. It led to noticeable improvements in people's lives. Their GDP per capita speaks for itself. Millions of people born in underdeveloped villages of rural China were pulled out of poverty and are now living respectable middle-class lives. That's a massive advancement in a short period. In 1990, the average Chinese citizen was making $330 annually. By 2019, that figure is closer to $10,000. That kind of increase in a nation with just above a billion people is no small feat. Of course, the government had to resort to some forceful, brutal, and questionable methods to achieve it. As a result, there were a lot of questionable policies along the way that the government implemented. These policies have come back to haunt them now. Administrative chaos. The one-child policy is one of them. Passed as an initiative to curb the population in a developing country, the policy restricted Chinese couples from having more than one child. Because of the one-child policy, soon the country will have more older people than younger workers. Adults are productive members of the economy, and kids will be their future productive members. The older population, which should be smaller in numbers, has already put in their hard work and gets to take a backseat and live off the productive members' work. But things changed with the one-child policy. China's population was unable to replace itself proportionately. Cultural pressure. You may have chuckled at some memes about Chinese parents and their unrealistic expectations of kids at least once. The reality is not all that laughable. The older generations who toiled and sweat while witnessing China's exponential growth have set their expectations extremely high for future generations. Getting higher education, a higher-paying job, good real estate, and a family seem like normal expectations. Some young people claim their ideals cannot be fulfilled on China's internet, and several have stopped trying. They are turning to a new term, Bai Lan, which means let it rot in English, to describe their attitude toward life due to their frustration with the increasing unpredictability and lack of economic opportunities. Economic uncertainties. The declining economic possibilities further contribute to young people's sense of pessimism. In recent months, the world's second-largest economy struggled to spur growth while hundreds of millions of Chinese citizens were confined to their homes owing to COVID lockdowns. The youth unemployment rate in China between the ages of 16 and 24 reached a record high of more than 18% in April. Finding a job is getting harder and harder for China's youth, and the CCP is not helping them. Things got worse with COVID as the job market shrunk even more. There's intense competition to get jobs that are available in small numbers. If you're lucky enough to get one, working in Chinese culture is mind-numbing and intense, especially compared to paid salaries. The 996 work schedule in China is typical, meaning you work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for 6 days a week. And if you dare complain, you're instantly replaceable due to the high demand for your job. Soon, the system tested the patience of its youth. From lying flat to letting it rot. Bai Lan describes a mindset of giving up on a difficult time. It stems from the belief shared by a large portion of young individuals in China that they cannot fight against pressures that make social standards unachievable. Therefore, many people are choosing to let it rot, effectively giving up on striving for high or any achievement in Chinese society rather than wasting energy trying to fix an untenable situation. The phrase lying flat refers to the idea of doing little more than what is necessary to ensure one's survival. The phrase let it rot, however, indicates a negative connotation and something that appears to be morally repugnant. Perhaps just a few individuals are actually letting things rot. Still, when a buzzword is overused on social media, it fosters a social environment that might be sufficient to have an influence. It illustrates how individuals completely lose up and are willing to accept a more dire scenario. It became so widely accepted that all tiers of the Chinese government, from local cadres to the highest authorities, now use it frequently. This is how the leader of the CCP, Xi Jinping, ended up making a speech asking young Chinese to establish great ideals and lift the country from despair. Do you think the Chinese youth are in the right direction to waking up to its administration by lying flat and letting it rot? Or are they delusional to expect help from the Communist Party? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you hit the like button, share this video, and remember to subscribe to our channel. We'll see you soon.